everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Facing the New Normal in Cybersecurity. Are you prepared? Which is part of our 6-week webinar series, Sogeti TechFlix. My name is Kasia Pavlik, and I'll be your moderator today. Now, before I introduce our speakers, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about the presentation and the GoToWebinar platform. First, this webinar is being recorded. Secondly, during the webinar, we would love to hear from you. So if you have a question to one of our experts or a comment to myself, please feel free to send them through the questions bar, which is located on your control panel. We'll be answering the questions at the end of the session. And if we don't get to your question during this webinar, we'll make sure to follow it up afterwards. Just a note that when you send a question, they are anonymous and they come directly to us. So don't be shy and ask away. The presentation is going to last about half an hour, and the final 15 minutes are going to be dedicated to Q&A. Now, to introduce our speakers today, we have Thomas Fiu, who is our Global Head of Business Development for Cybersecurity, and Ilkka Hevinen, who is the Head of Cybersecurity Team for Sogeti Finland. So, before we kick off, I would like to ask the audience a question, which is going to pop on your screens just now. The question is, are you planning to allow wide-scale remote work after the COVID-19 situation? If you could take a moment to answer the question for us. All right, closing the poll. Let's see the results.
55.
55. I feel like it's been a little bit less last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
18.
Right, hiding the results and handing the mic over to Thomas. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you, Kasia. First of all, I would say I'm super happy to host this webinar again and to have you. I would take a minute to send you all my best wishes in this unprecedented global event. I would, before starting commenting the results, emphasizing that I think we are facing a really unprecedented event. I think it's really the first time that the same event is affecting so much people around the globe. We are talking about nearly 3 billion people stuck at their home, which is, it never happened, even during World Wars. So we are really facing something that is really big. Commenting your results, 55% of you believe that working from home will become part of the new normal, and I must say I totally agree. I was discussing with a client this morning, saying he will go to a normal 3 days per week at home for everybody. And I think it will really be something that will last in time. Regarding what that changed, you can see on that screen, and that's only monitoring the global internet traffic, and the figures got crazy. In countries like Portugal, United Kingdom, France, we have seen 50% of growth in the total of internet traffic. Obviously, there were kids at home, and you can see on the right of the screen that the usage of internet for kids and entertainment has been big, but we also see that telecommuting, e-learning, distance learning, remote desktop connection, voice over IP has been increased in very high figures, and this creates a whole new environment because people at home don't behave the same that they do at work, and this creates a lot of, I would say, a lot of new risks. So why do we believe that the situation creates risk? Actually, working from home should be normal. But the thing is, people, when they are alone at home, well, they are much more on their own, which means Probably they can be a bit less conscious about where they click, because there is a mix between their personal life and professional. Also, probably if they have a dupe, they might not be able to reach out the security people in the organization. Probably they are not using exactly the same devices. It's highly probable that they are using their personal iPhones, personal computer. They are connecting through their personal router, home routers. And we know that these devices, they are very, very hard to secure. They are very hard to maintain. For example, on the bottom left of the screen, you can see this pop-up that shows up into legitimate traffic, because it's coming from the home router. It's coming from a Linksys router that has been attacked. So inside the legitimate traffic, the user will see this pop-up saying, you need to install this application. And if he clicks there, well, he's installing a ransomware, and the ransomware can diffuse into the whole company network. On the middle, I think if you see this screen and if someone sends you this link saying, hey, look out, here in France, you can see that there have been maybe 100,000 people affected by COVID-19. Well, it's probable that it's legitimate because you are afraid, you are concerned for your relatives and family. So maybe you will click without any question. And actually, this website, it's what we call a water holding site, and is diffusing inside this web page the Maze ransomware. And if this ransomware is installed, something bad can happen to your computer, but also to the company. And on the right, and I will discuss this a bit longer after that, we've seen a massive campaign of phishing related to coronavirus. Anytime a very big event happens somewhere in the world, we see that this event is used by bad guys to diffuse their malware, and COVID crisis has been standard, I would say, in this way of doing, but at a very wide scale, and we will see this just after that. So I want to share with you some observation we had from the Sogeti CERT. So we are running a CERT, and we have been monitoring what is happening during this crisis. And I think everybody now is pretty aware that the threat landscape is in constant evolution. We all know that the intensity of the threat is pretty high. And my first thought was, it's just normal stuff. And we must say it's not just normal stuff. The figures we've seen, the intensity of the threat landscape has been really, really, really high. For example, the first figure I show there, so 4,000% increase in ransomware attacks, and this has been seen by our CERT, but by everywhere in the world. Microsoft actually published this graphics about the activity of ransomware groups and how they're operating, and this blog post is very interesting, and you can find on that a lot of figures about how the ransomware groups are working now. On the phishing front, well, I told it was high. So Google only said that they were detecting and blocking something around 20 billion daily phishing or malware emails related to COVID. Fortunately, they also say they are blocking that, but you can imagine the volume that this is. Maybe more surprising, it's also been a time for, I would say, global leakage of information. So there was a very big publishing accidental, but also a lot of stealing in social network platform and in gaming platform. So we don't really know why, Probably it's because human mistakes or bad internal behaviors, but also because it's a moment where attackers believe that it's a good time to showcase their strengths. And in the, I would say, normal work, so during the month of March, we've seen also new version of cyber attacks, targeted cyber attacks, 20 new version of ransomware, and also a dedicated data breach. And I will show you a new one a bit later. And what we have not to forget is that all the crappy stuff is still there. All the, I would say, normal phishing, ransomware, malware everywhere are still ongoing. So it makes a pretty bad landscape for all the cybersecurity teams everywhere. So our CERT has been trying to really understand what is happening inside the mindset of attackers group, and we have seen this journey of attackers during the crisis. So as I told, every time there is a new crisis, attackers are very agile, very quick to move to this keyword to exploit the fears. So people are afraid, so they click more easily on links, and it's a good moment to have a phishing campaign. And actually, we have seen a very high wave of phishing, as I already told. But at the same time, I would say the traditional cyber attackers, like Emotet Group or Mummy Spider, very famous, well, they changed their way of operating to take advantage of the crisis. At some point, and we put the date to the second half of March, attackers change the game and they start to use the crisis in a more geopolitical way. We believe that maybe new groups, state-sponsor group, take advantage of the crisis, and they are trying to push this on the political field, and also to the spying and trying to attack public organization, NGO, and actually we have now entered the third phases, where we can see that the targeted attacks are at a super high level. I will show you one after. We've seen attacks on hospitals, on public health. Two hospitals in France have been severely attacked. Another one in the UK. We see data stealing, and we see everything around trying to destabilize country and trying to do political disorganization to countries by adding crisis to the crisis. And this is a traditional way of attackers moving to that. The situation is also that probably they are preparing the next phases. And I will now spend a bit of time on what to prepare for now. So I would say the attackers we've seen, they have shifted to this, I would say, fear managing campaign to something much more organized. But what we fear and what we want to warn you about, and what we want to prepare for the upcoming months, is a post-lockdown attacks, because we are now in this red square. We have entered, fortunately, in France, we have now started to unlock down, and in other countries in Europe too. So people are coming back to work. Companies are restarting their operations. Obviously, all the landscape I described is still there. It's still continuing. Phishing attacks are not stopping magically. But what we fear is that a lot of attacker group, they use this very uncertain time to do very bad stuff. That means because during these phases, it was super easy for an attacker group to do social engineering, for example, to do reconnaissance operation, to gather a lot of information on what's happening in the companies, and they are probably using that to prepare the post-lockdown attacks that will happen from now, and that period can probably last more than 1 year now, and it's a fear that we have that we will see very, very bad attacks, maybe on a critical infrastructure, on health system, and as we have always seen, on trying to destabilize maybe elections or political parties. We really want to warn you, depending on the sector you are working on, if you are in critical infrastructure, probably take care. I would say the worst is probably to come. Just to illustrate that, and I told you, so this is very fresh. The good thing when a webinar on cybersecurity is that you always got fresh stuff. And this one is from this morning, where the British company EasyJet published a statement saying that there were attacks. So they say it's a highly sophisticated attack. We don't really know the details yet, but what is sure is that all their client database has been accessed by unauthorized people, including payment information in some cases. And I would say EasyJet probably was already severely hit by the crisis, like all the airlines company. So now we can see that the attackers are really taking this opportunity that the company are in a very bad situation to do this kind of stuff, and we don't really know if there has been a ransom behind that, but this could happen, and it's highly probable that this kind of situation will unfortunately happen again. On the front of the good reasons to hope, so first of all, I would say, and it's more like a joke, but it's real. The bad guys during this period, they want to appear as not so bad. So, for example, we can see Maze attacker group with one of the most active ransomware groups. Well, they said, we are super nice guys. During the crisis, we will not attack hospitals. We will not attack medical organizations. Trust us. So I'm not sure we can trust Maze. Probably they will do their attacks after that. But the situation is so bad that even the attackers want to appear as not too bad. And more fun, if by any chance you have been attacked by Maze during this time frame, well, you are lucky because they decided to provide super discounts. So deciphering your files will cost you less. In the defending side, and more seriously, we've seen unprecedented cooperation in the cybersecurity teams in the world. I want to mention three there. CV19, probably you have seen this. CV19 is, I would say, the cyber volunteer. It's everybody who has some knowledge, who has some capacities in cybersecurity can bring help to hospitals, to public organizations, or to companies that need help. And this is really, to my knowledge, something that is really new. This cooperation by people wanting to provide better security, and I think it's a real reason for hope. It's a change. In the same area, in threat intelligence, I must say it's really the first time that all the CERTs in the world share so easily information. Threat intelligence, it's a bit an area where you want to keep your knowledge. I must say the exchange of information on attackers group during the crisis has been remarkable, and I think it's very, very cool because this allows us, for example, to provide the kind of information and figures I show you, and to prepare for the post-lockdown attacks that we fear. So this is good. And I would say on the response package, on the response phase, there is also companies provided actionable security measures. We can see here the European Community Security Organization, the EXO, preparing a cybersecurity response package, meaning that we have something to do. And I really believe that it's also the moment and the opportunity to set up cybersecurity measures that will be resilient in the future to all this type of crisis. We will now go to the second questionnaire when you will tell us about your capability in incident response, and after that, Ilkka will talk about the new way of working in cybersecurity.
Thank you, Thomas. I'll launch the second question now. It should be visible on your screens any moment now. The question is, how would you rate the maturity of dealing with security incidents in your company? Right, we have advanced capabilities is the only answer that we received from majority of our audience today. Ilkka, I'll now hand over to you to start the second part of our presentation today.
Great, thank you. Interesting results, and I think it's a bit different than last time we had.
Seems like we've upgraded since last.
Yeah, quite quick upgrade, I would say. Okay, so I will be talking about this new way of working and the security risks and what should organizations do in this situation to make sure that they stay secure. So people are working from home now, have been for a couple of months already, and one risk is that home networks are usually less secure than corporate networks. So you have maybe routers that are not up to date, authentication is not maybe on the same level, and you might have different network devices that are not maybe corporate level in terms of security. And many organizations have to quickly move into this new way of working. So they have maybe had to introduce new tools and didn't have time to make sure that they are up to the corporate security standards. For example, there have been quite many news about Zoom, for example, that at least they had some quite severe security issues, and now they are fixing them. And many organizations have had to maybe scale up their VPN solutions and so on in this situation, because most organizations didn't have remote working in this scale before. And one risk is also that users can be more susceptible to phishing, for example. I cannot go to my colleague and ask that, hey, did you get this email? Does this seem legit to you? And they might easier click some of the attachments and so on. But there are also opportunities in this situation. So it's also good for organizations that people are getting more used to working remotely. And it's also a good opportunity to assess the policies for remote work and bring your own device. So you can update the policies from security perspective to make sure that everything is in there that needs to be. For example, what kind of devices you can use to do the work from home and what kind of things you can do with the work devices. And it's a good opportunity to assess user awareness from security as well. For example, make sure that people know what to click and what not to click when they get suspicious emails. Okay, and let's discuss about what organizations should do in this current situation. So it's really important to take care of security basics, for example, install updates. It's very basic, but it's kind of challenging in this situation because you need to make sure that the end users are actually installing the updates. If they are working from home a couple of months, when they come back to the office, if they have very outdated software, it's a security risk for sure. And it's really important to also check firewall configurations. For example, people might be using remote desktop to access some servers, for example, and you really don't want to allow access from anywhere to those servers because there are automatic scripts that scan remote desktop connections and try to open those from the network. And as mentioned, there have been a lot of these phishing emails, so it's really important to make sure that at least you try to block some of the emails, but of course these scammers are kind of crafty and they make new email templates all the time, so it can be quite challenging to block everything. And also the websites, there have been quite many malicious websites opening every day, so it can be challenging, but at least it's good to try to block some of them. But when this blocking doesn't really work in every situation because of the landscape, it's really important to do the user awareness training. So make the users understand what is expected of them, or what is the expected behavior when you get suspicious emails, for example. And as a user and for the user awareness, of course, it's important to avoid vulnerable Wi-Fi networks. So you only use your own Wi-Fi, make sure that the router is up to date, and you change the default passwords and so on. And of course, on top of that, it's recommended to use a VPN or other kinds of measure to make sure that there's an additional layer of security on top of the Wi-Fi encryption. And these smart home devices can be a security risk as well. For example, things like Amazon Alexa, it can record everything that is spoken at your home, and if you're having secret meetings when you're working from home, you don't really want that everything is recorded and sent to the cloud. And also they might not secure the Wi-Fi passwords very well, at least to the corporate standards. And it's really important to make sure that the users understand that they follow the acceptable use policy for work devices, so they don't do online shopping or browsing at least too much on the work devices, because of course it's a risk if they do something that they're not supposed to use or use applications that are not approved by corporate standards. And as mentioned, users shouldn't open suspicious emails or attachments and so on. And as an organization, it's now a good situation to make sure that the business continuity plans are up to date, and it's also important to practice them. So in this sort of disruption, you should be prepared that you can actually follow the plan that you have made. And continuing user awareness training is really important because it has been research, and users can quite quickly forget the things that they have been trained in general. So it's really important to focus on the key behaviors and keep reminding users how to behave. And in this situation where we have seen a lot more attacks in a couple of months, the security teams might be overwhelmed with the security events that have been happening. And so automation like security orchestration can help with that. So it can automate the reaction of some of the security events, which can help reduce the manual work for security teams. And also in this situation when organizations cannot really see all the network traffic, it's really key that they need to have some monitoring on the endpoints like laptops, so that they can identify if there's malware or suspicious traffic and so on the devices. So monitoring the devices is much more important in this situation than monitoring the network traffic, because you cannot really monitor the home networks of your employees. And it's also a good situation to evaluate that you have everything you need for incident response, so you are able to quickly react to different events, and also threat hunting is one of the key capabilities, because as mentioned, there have been these information thefts and more advanced attacks that we are expecting in a couple of months, and there can already be compromised end user devices if you don't have all the monitoring capabilities. So threat hunting is a way to identify compromise afterwards. So that's really important in this situation, that when people are coming back to the office, you have the capability that you can identify that if some end user devices are already compromised. Okay, next I will talk about making sure that the organization is secure in the long run. So one day this situation will hopefully be over and we'll be coming back to the office, at least most of the time. So it's really important to make sure that some of the devices can be compromised already, so you have some way of at least identifying that there's a risk related to that. So you should make sure that everything will be patched to the newest patch level as possible, and you are doing threat hunting or endpoint detection and response to identify if there have been compromised already. And it's also important to make sure that end users understand typical office behavior, for example. So you might have adjusted to different way of working at home. So when you're coming back to the office, the employees should remember to lock their laptops, for example, if they are leaving their desks. And in the long run, it's also important to prepare for these more advanced attacks like information thefts. So these information thefts have already been seen in these couple of months towards some research institutions or medical companies. It has been mostly related to this COVID-19 research and medicine research. But in this situation where most organizations and governments are quite vulnerable, it's important to understand that this might be, so all organizations might be subject to these more advanced attacks. And it's quite likely that first the attackers will compromise some of the end user devices, because in these situations it might be the most easy way to get in, but their end target is probably something like corporate secrets or something. What is the most important in the organization? So it's not the end user devices or something that is located there. It's probably something more interesting. So they will gradually move into more important stuff. So in the long term, how to keep protecting? So it's really important to make sure that the teams have all the capabilities, like processes, tools, and training to respond if there are compromises, and update them if needed. It's really important to communicate to the end users what is expected of them and what is the typical behavior in the long term, what is the accepted use for the work devices. And like mentioned, this threat hunting is really important to identify if there's already been a compromise, and this endpoint detection and response capabilities are are good to evaluate if you don't have the capability to monitor your networks or the end users' networks. So I think that sums it up what the organizations do in the long run, and next we can move to the questions part.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ilkka. Thank you, Tuma. They will go directly to us and then we'll distribute them with our speakers. Okay, so let's start with first question, which is around kind of communicating. And you know, there's a lot of new tools and a lot of new platforms that have been implemented, let's say ad hoc, to meet the business needs for people to be able to meet and communicate. Are you able to say anything on that, how we should use them securely and kind of take them forward from now on?
It's a tough one. Yes, I think indeed a lot of so there are I would say two questions in the question. First of all, the company set up, I would say, emergency tools to maintain business continuity. So for example, saying, okay, go on Zoom to do your meeting. So the situation, I believe the company must do a transition to the back to normal and make sure that that the tools that are provided are secured enough according to the company policy. The other one is people are natively resilient. So that means if the tools provided by the company do not fit the business need, they will use other. And this is called shadow IT. This is not new, but obviously the crisis increased this in proportions that we are not really able to guess. But it's highly probable that part of your user are now using tools you don't even know. Obviously, and I will stick to Zoom. Zoom is now tending to become a word. You know, you don't say I'm doing a video conference with my colleague. You say I'm zooming. So it's really becoming a tool widely used, and there have been a lot of publications saying that for some usage, Zoom is not the good tool to use. So you will have to set up something to discover this usage of shadow IT and also to train your user and to explain how to do this according to company policy. So big challenge there. After that, obviously the measures for using that securely will vary from tool to tool and from company to company. I have no single answer, but for preparing the back to normal, I think it's really a key point. Trying to know what your users have used.
Okay, thank you for that. Next question that we have is, what is the permanent change that we'll take with us from working from home for so long now?
Yeah, I don't know. As I told you, one of my clients this morning was saying that he is moving to a permanent stay or a permanent, I would say, state of work from home, which means that on the security part, and Ilkka, I think maybe you can add something, but we know that we have some resilient tools, and this is also the topic of the other webinar we are doing on what is a good fit for the future. For sure, my belief is you will have to monitor the endpoints, because the usage of the endpoints will be a permanent change. People will access public cloud applications from their personal devices, and this is something that has to be taken into account, meaning how do we control what is happening? And it's not easy. The other part I really believe is companies have to enhance their security posture in the way they are monitoring what is happening from the remote, monitoring all these remote connections, the VPN servers, and make sure that the security operations center can view all that and make sure that the incident response team are ready to work in this widely distributed environment. Ilkka, I don't know if you want to add something.
No, I think that's quite a good answer, considering that it's a broad question, and yeah, definitely agree that we need to have different way of monitoring when everything is not happening in the corporate network, in the corporate data center. Everything is more diverse, the whole architecture.
All right. It seems like we've got to the end of the webinar. That went fast today. 45 minutes went by very quick. So just to remind everyone, we do have another webinar, just like Thomas mentioned, on cybersecurity. That is next week. So if you are interested in continuation of this topic, please register. You can find all the information on our Sogeti.com website, together with more titles that are still coming up in our live webinars. All of the Sogeti TechFlix series will be also available on demand once they all run live, so you can go back to them and listen again if you want to. So thank you for taking your time and joining us today. Thank you, Ilkka. Thank you, Thomas, for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all in the next webinar.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Thank you. Goodbye.